An accident? No. Choice. I smashed my phone against the kitchen counter so hard the screen cracked into 1,000 tiny slivers. I could have just turned it off, or set it aside for a couple of hours, but the rage boiling inside me demanded something louder, more final. Shards of glass and plastic scattered onto the floor, and for a moment, I stared at the wreckage, feeling an odd sense of relief. No more buzzing notifications, no more texts from strangers hinting that my wife was leading some secret double life. No more images I couldn't unsee. But the quiet that replaced it didn't bring peace. It felt heavier, like a lead blanket pressing down on my chest. I breathed in and tried to focus on the tick of the clock on the wall. The second hand moved steadily forward, indifferent to the chaos in my head. I could still hear the faint ringing in my ears from the impact of the phone, or maybe it was just the echo of everything I'd learned in the past few days. For a man like me, born in Detroit, raised with a sense of straightforward honesty in a rough neighborhood, betrayal doesn't come gently. It arrives like a sledgehammer. I used to think that if I worked hard, stayed loyal, and kept my home clean, love would remain unbreakable. I was wrong. My name is Michael Johnson. I'm 35, married for almost 10 years to a woman I thought I knew better than myself. We moved to Seattle for my job in marketing at a tech company that prides itself on new ideas and bright futures. I always believed in bright futures. But the present is dark now, overshadowed by the reality that Sarah, my Sarah, has been unfaithful in ways I never could have predicted. I remember the night it started to unravel. She was leaving for a party. We'd been invited together, but I had a stack of work to do, some campaign that needed final revisions. She slipped on a new dress, one that hugged her figure more tightly than usual. There was a flicker in her eyes I'd never noticed before, anticipation mixed with defiance. I said, "Don't do it," though I wasn't fully sure what I meant. Maybe I sensed something in her posture, the way she tilted her head, the lilt in her voice as she said, "I'm going," like a challenge. She just gave me this little laugh, light and dismissive, then walked out the door. Her heels tapped on the pavement outside, then silence. I didn't follow. I didn't call. I didn't check Instagram or any other social feed that night. I told myself I needed rest, that maybe I was just overthinking. But deep down, a primal alarm had already begun to ring. The next morning, I opened YouTube, intending to catch some business news or motivational talk, something to give structure to my day. An ad popped up. OnlyFans. At first I rolled my eyes, ready to skip. But the username shown in the corner matched a handle Sarah once used in an old Telegram account. My heart snagged on a silent panic. I clicked, almost in a trance. There she was, masked by heavier makeup, hair teased out in a style I'd never seen her wear at home. But the eyes were unmistakably hers, those soft blue irises that once shimmered under the Seattle drizzle. The first video was short. Sarah, or this version of Sarah, teased the camera with a slow, deliberate move of her shoulder strap. My breath caught in my throat. The second video escalated, an unbuttoned blouse, a coy smile. The background was unfamiliar, a plush sofa in deep red, probably not in our house. I felt the blood pound in my temples. But it was the third clip that shattered my illusions. She wasn't alone. In that third video, a man stepped into frame. Tall, fit, and confident in a way that seeped through the screen. I didn't recognize him. Later, I'd learn his name, Anthony, Tony, Rivera, would-be actor from Los Angeles. But at that moment, all I saw were his hands on my wife, moving across her body like he had every right in the world to claim her. She arched toward him, parted her lips, and breathed in a way I'd never heard from her in our marital bed. An ache twisted in my stomach, half rage, half heartbreak. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. It was raw betrayal, naked, unapologetic, filmed for an audience that paid to watch. My voice croaked out a single word, Sarah. I turned the video off. My mouth went dry, my heart hammered. I felt like the floor under my feet had given way. All my instincts told me to scream, to call her, to demand an explanation. But something else rose in me, something far colder and more dangerous, a silent, strangling fury. I closed the laptop, sat at the kitchen table, and just breathed. My eyes stung as if I'd been punched. I told myself, don't cry, don't shout. You're better than this. But the tremor in my hands gave me away. I ended up hiring a breathing coach, some new age approach I'd never considered before, because I felt I was choking on my own anger. Sarah noticed I'd become distant, but I said it was work stress. She believed it, or pretended to. She had her own secret life to maintain, apparently. 2 days later, she returned home from another meeting, coffee in hand, casual smile on her lips. That same mouth that had formed seductive shapes around Tony not too long ago. She said, "Morning, honey. Got you a latte." I forced myself to nod, pretend I was thankful. When she leaned in to kiss my cheek, I let her. My lips tightened, but I said nothing. Each gesture felt like a staged performance, an echo of that show she put on for the camera. And me, the clueless husband, was the last to know. I put my phone, still intact at that point, on the table and pressed play on the videos I'd downloaded. One by one, I showed her the evidence. No words. Just the damning visuals. Her expression went from a half-smirk to wide-eyed horror. And there it was, the same face I'd seen in those clips, the same eyes, but now stripped of glamour. She tried to speak. No sound came out. I let the silence hang like a noose. Then I played another clip, sound only, some moaning that was undeniably hers. She flinched as if slapped. Finally, I showed her screenshots of the channel's comments section and her own likes. She sank onto a chair, the latte trembling in her hand. I watched her face, searching for guilt, shame, regret. Maybe I saw flickers of those, but mostly I saw confusion, as if she was caught between wanting to keep lying and wanting to unburden herself. "Michael," she started, voice cracking. It's not what you think." I calmly slid the phone aside. "Then what is it?" I made my tone quiet, dangerously so. She pressed her lips tight, tears in her eyes. I waited. Her tears didn't move me, I was beyond that. Beneath her sobs, I saw the woman from the videos, the one who'd lied. The one who'd chosen to humiliate me, us, for the thrill of it. She began talking about a difficult period in her life. Her father's death when she was younger, the stress of being a freelance designer in a city that never really felt like home, the emptiness inside that she'd been trying to fill. She mentioned how she'd discovered a platform where she could express herself and earn money. Then Tony came along, a charismatic guy who offered her excitement and creative collaboration, as she put it. And with every word she spoke, the space around us felt colder, heavier. Because all I heard was justification, rationalization. Not once did she apologize. Not once did she seem genuinely remorseful for the betrayal, only regretful she got caught. I let her talk until her voice grew hoarse. She reached for me, tried to touch my hand, but I pulled away with a slight shake of my head. When I finally spoke, I made sure my voice was steady, though inside my chest a storm raged. "Sarah, you're free. But not from yourself." That was all I said. Then I got up, opened the door, and waited. She looked at me with disbelief, tears still glistening. She seemed to want one last chance to plead, but the words wouldn't come. I think in that moment, she understood something about me. I wasn't going to fight, scream, or beg. My punishment would be silence. I was done. Because I could no longer see her as the woman I married. She had become a stranger, someone who existed on a stage for strangers' pleasure. She walked out. I closed the door behind her, each second an echo of finality. I stood there for a long time, the handle still in my grip. I felt the energy draining from my body, replaced by a hollow numbness. That evening, I could still smell her perfume in the hallway. I kept expecting to hear her footsteps returning. But they never did. Eventually, I took out my phone to text someone, maybe my sister in Texas, maybe a close friend. That's when the messages from unknown numbers started pouring in, mocking me, telling me they recognized Sarah from certain videos that they'd known for weeks. A wave of humiliation crashed over me. So I took the phone and hurled it against the counter in a blind fury. And that's how it broke. That's how I ended up in this moment, listening to the clock tick, glass shards scattered, my life in ruins. I breathe in, slowly. My breathing coach's voice echoes in my head, instructing me to count to 4, hold for 2, exhale for 4. The instructions do little to quell the trembling in my hands, but at least they keep me from picking up another object to smash. There's no point in letting anger control me. I'm trying to keep it together, for my own sake. But how did it come to this? I think back to the early days with Sarah, how we met. She was from San Diego, all sunshine and casual confidence, while I was a scrappy kid from Detroit with big ambitions. We married young, but we had love, or so I believed. We moved to Seattle for my job, and she started freelancing in graphic design. Maybe the rain and gloom got to her. Maybe the routine chipped away at her sense of adventure. I don't know. All I know is that at some point, she found a taste of forbidden excitement, and she didn't turn away. Images flash in my mind, that video of her and Tony. His hands on her waist, her lips parted. The swirl of her hair as she tossed her head back. The wet sound of their kisses. It's an erotic subtext burned into my brain. I feel a wave of nausea. My voice is stuck in my throat, as if I'm about to scream but can't. The floor feels unsteady, like it wants to swallow me whole. I try to distract myself by cleaning up the shards from my phone. They slice my fingertips in tiny cuts, not deep enough to bleed much, but enough to make me hiss in pain. I welcome the sting. Maybe physical pain will overshadow the emotional turmoil. But it doesn't. It just adds to it. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. A jolt shoots through me. My first thought is that Sarah has come back, maybe to beg for forgiveness or to retrieve her things. I set the broom aside, take a breath, and open the door. It's Tony. I recognize his face from those videos, except now he's wearing a casual leather jacket and a smug grin. My blood runs cold. How dare he show up at my doorstep? My hand clenches the doorknob, knuckles white. He lifts his chin in a mocking greeting. Hey. I'm Tony, he says, like we're just two guys meeting under normal circumstances. My jaw tightens. What do you want? My voice sounds tight and raw. He shrugs. Thought we should talk. About Sarah. About everything. I step outside, closing the door behind me so he can't just stroll into my living room. The last thing I need is for him to contaminate my space. There's nothing to talk about, I say. Each syllable is laced with bitterness. She made her choice. You helped her. That's it. He has the nerve to sigh, as if he's disappointed in my lack of openness. Look, man, this isn't personal, he says, raising his hands in a half-hearted gesture of surrender. Sarah and I, this was about creativity, about. Shut up, I say, quietly. Don't you dare feed me that line. I saw the videos. You had your hands all over my wife, and you both put it online for money. My voice trembles with anger. He looks away, clearly uncomfortable for the first time. She wanted it, he says, defensive. She wanted to be free, to express herself. I just provided the opportunity. My throat feels tight. I consider throwing a punch, but some cooler part of me holds back. Instead, I let out a bitter laugh. You must be proud of yourself, big man from LA, turning unsuspecting wives into amateur porn stars for extra cash. You want a medal? He actually has the gall to look wounded. I'm not a bad guy. Things happen. You, me, we're in the same boat now. I stare at him, incredulous. We're not in the same damn boat. You came here to rub it in my face. Or are you here to pick up her things? He shakes his head. I'm not living with her. She never asked me to. She felt suffocated, man. Maybe you didn't notice. Maybe you didn't give her enough room to breathe. That comment hits like a punch to the gut. Get off my property, I say, my voice low and deadly. Before I do something we'll both regret. Tony holds my gaze for a moment, as though measuring me. Then he mutters, whatever, and turns to go, stepping slowly down the driveway. I stand there, fists clenched, until his figure disappears around the corner. My mind reels. Of all the things to say, that she felt suffocated. I gave Sarah everything, respect, space, love. But apparently not enough. I feel a new wave of resentment bloom in my chest, directed at both him and her. It's not just the sex, it's the lies, the secrecy, the public humiliation. She posted herself online with him for thousands of strangers. And I was the last to know. Eventually, I head back inside. My footsteps echo in the empty house. The kitchen light flickers, reminding me I need to change the bulb. The small details, like that broken bulb or the squeaky hinge on the door, used to feel trivial. But now they loom large, reminders of a life built on illusions. The tea kettle begins to whistle, but the sound irritates me, so I yank it off the burner, nearly spilling scalding water on my hand. Anger surges, but I swallow it down. I recall the breathing instructions: inhale 4, hold 2, exhale 4. My chest tightens. It's like trying to extinguish a house fire with a single bucket of water. I force myself to tidy the house, an odd attempt at normalcy. I gather old receipts, empty coffee cups. I wipe down the counters. My wedding photo with Sarah sits on a side table in the living room, the two of us grinning like fools on the day that was supposed to mark forever. I pick it up, stare at my own eyes, brimming with hope. Carefully, I set it face down. I can't bear to look at it anymore. Time slips by in a haze. Night falls. I sleep fitfully on the couch, haunted by images of Sarah and Tony locked in an embrace. At around 3 a.m., I wake from a nightmare with a cold sweat. It's so quiet, I can hear the clock ticking from across the room. A wave of loneliness washes over me. I almost wish she would walk in, say anything, give me some explanation that would let me forgive her. But that's a lie I can't afford to cling to. The truth is, I don't want her near me now. The next morning, I rummage through my broken phone. I manage to turn it on one last time, though the screen is useless. Using my laptop, I block her accounts on every social media platform. I block Tony's name from my mind, or at least I try. And I realize I need a new phone, so I drive to the store. The salesman tries to upsell me a fancy model, but I just shake my head. I just need something simple, I say. Calls and texts, that's it. On the way back, I see a sign for a local counselor's office. My sister once told me therapy is underrated. I consider it, but the idea of pouring my guts out to a stranger feels pointless. My thoughts spool around, maybe I should handle this on my own. After all, I'm the only one who can decide what to do next. But the tension in my chest suggests otherwise. Later that afternoon, Sarah tries to call me from some unknown number, maybe a friend's phone, because I see an unfamiliar ID lighting up my brand new device. I don't answer. Let her wonder if I'm even alive. The thought of hearing her voice right now triggers a swirl of contradictory feelings: heartbreak, anger, longing. I choose silence instead. A few days pass, each one more surreal than the last. I manage to show up to work, where everyone around me chatters about quarterly goals and marketing strategies. My mind is anywhere but the present. I half expect coworkers to approach me with pity in their eyes, as if they, too, have seen the videos. But so far, no one says anything. Maybe that humiliation is reserved for me and me alone. I spend my breaks in a quiet corner, scrolling through emails, trying to keep my mind numb. By the third day, it becomes too much. I email HR, telling them I need some personal leave. They grant it with surprising ease, probably because I've rarely taken time off before. So I head home early and stare at the walls, letting the shadows lengthen. When the doorbell rings again, I brace myself, certain it's Tony. Maybe he's come to pick a fight, or to spin some new story. But when I open up, it's Sarah. She looks different. Paler, the makeup toned down. She's holding another cup of coffee, a peace offering. The same brand we used to share on lazy Sundays. She steps in without waiting for an invitation. I allow it, though my gut clenches. The silence between us is thick as she sets the cup on the table. I tried calling, she says softly. I know, I respond, voice flat. My gaze flicks to the clock on the wall, it's ticking away, each second a reminder I can throw her out any moment. She exhales shakily. Michael. I need to talk to you. To explain. Please. I fold my arms. You told me plenty last time. I don't recall hearing an apology, though. She flinches. I'm sorry. Her voice wavers. I don't know how else to say it. I made a horrible choice. But you don't understand, I was losing myself. I felt invisible. My laugh is bitter. Invisible? So the solution was to star in amateur porn with some guy from LA? She flinches again. It wasn't supposed to go that far. Tony and I started collaborating on small projects, photo shoots, teasers. I was making good money. The attention felt addictive. I could be someone else for a while. But it spiraled. I'm not proud of it. I notice my jaw is clenched so hard it hurts. I take a breath, speak quietly. You think that changes anything? You lied to me for months. You humiliated our marriage in front of strangers online. Her tears start again, but I remain stone-faced. She steps closer, tries to rest her hand on my arm. I don't move away this time, but I don't acknowledge her touch either. She continues, I get if you want a divorce. I understand. But, part of me hopes we can fix this. We had something real once. I want to try therapy, counseling. Anything. I tilt my head, regarding her with a cold curiosity. Tell me, Sarah. Do you still post on that site? Still filming with Tony? She shakes her head rapidly. No, no. I cut it off. I swear. I stare at her, searching for any sign of deceit. You're lying, I say after a beat. I checked your last activity before I blocked everything. You were still active last week. She pales. I needed to say goodbye to my followers. They pay my bills, Michael. I was just saying goodbye, I interrupt, my voice dripping with cynicism. Right. A silence stretches. She looks at the floor. Then what do you want from me? I ask, letting the question hang. I wonder if I even want the answer. She looks up, eyes red. A chance to make amends. Even if it's just for me to say, face to face, that I'm sorry. I let out a long breath. The memory of those videos roars in my mind. My voice drops to a near whisper, apology accepted. She's about to say something else, but I raise my hand to stop her. But I'm not forgetting, I continue, the venom creeping into my tone. Ever. She swallows. I deserve that. My phone buzzes on the table, a new model, cheap, but functional. The vibration is enough to break the tension. I take the call, ignoring her presence. It's my breathing coach, reminding me about a session. I agree to it, my voice tight, then hang up. Sarah stands there, uncertain. The overhead light flickers, and the teakettle begins to boil on the stove, whistling softly. I walk to the stove, shut off the burner, letting the whistle die out. Slowly, I turn back to her. You can go now, I say. I have an appointment. She opens her mouth, possibly to argue, but closes it again. Then, in a subdued voice, she murmurs, "All right." Her steps are hesitant as she heads for the door. Just before she crosses the threshold, she pauses. "I hope one day you find it in your heart to forgive me," she says, barely audible. I offer no response, and she leaves. When the door clicks shut, I set the kettle aside and lean on the counter, letting out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. My voice trembles when I speak to the empty kitchen. "Forgive? I don't know if I can do that." In the days that follow, I meet with the breathing coach more frequently. She's a calm, middle-aged woman who doesn't pry into my personal life too much, just encourages me to focus on each inhale and exhale. Yet every session, my throat tightens at the memory of what Sarah did. The betrayal plays in my mind on an endless loop, leaving me feeling raw. I catch a glimpse of Tony once more near my neighborhood. I'm driving home from the grocery store when I see him leaning against a parked car, scrolling on his phone. Our eyes meet through the windshield. He smirks, then gives a small nod, as if to say, "Still here, buddy." My stomach lurches. I grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white, forcing myself not to stop. I keep driving. I can't let him drag me into some pointless confrontation. But the rage simmers. Late that night, I pace the living room, replaying scenes in my head, her with him, his swagger when he showed up at my door. I think about the vow I made to Sarah when we got married, about loyalty, about not letting life break us apart. She shattered that vow. Tony's just a symptom, but he's also a catalyst. And me, I'm the one stuck picking up the pieces. One evening, I decide to text Sarah. My message is short: "Come over tomorrow at 7. We need to talk." I don't expect a reply, but I get one a few minutes later. "I'll be there." By 6:45 the next day, my heart pounds in anticipation. I've tidied the house again, making sure there's nothing lying around to remind me of the wreckage we've become. She arrives exactly at 7 o'clock, like she's trying to prove she can be punctual and responsible. I let her in. She smells of some light perfume, something that reminds me of better times. I clamp down on the emotion that stirs in me. She stands by the couch, hesitant. I gesture for her to sit, then I take the armchair across from her, like we're in some counseling session. Silence drags on. Eventually, she speaks, her voice soft. "Thank you for letting me come." I clear my throat. "I want you to hear me out. I need you to understand how deep this cut is. Because I'm not sure you really do." She nods, biting her lip. "I'm listening." So I start. I talk about how I used to view marriage, about my parents in Detroit, how they stuck together through job losses, family deaths, everything. How I never once questioned whether Sarah would be there for me through thick and thin. I talk about waking up that morning I discovered her OnlyFans handle, how my heart nearly stopped when I recognized her face on the screen. How I felt like the world collapsed with each new video. She closes her eyes, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I hate that I hurt you like that," she says, voice trembling. "I can't take it back, but... Michael, I swear, it wasn't about hurting you. It was about me." I nod slowly. "Yes, that's what terrifies me the most, that you stopped caring how it would affect me. That's what betrayal is." She looks away, shame flickering on her face. In the quiet, I notice the faint hum of the heater, the drip of a faucet in the kitchen. Little background noises that underscore how fragile every moment is. Finally, I speak again. "I'll never see you the same way. Do you realize that?" She presses her lips together. "I do. And it kills me. I want to say something cutting, something cruel. But all that comes out is a weary sigh. Where are you staying? I ask. She hesitates. A friend's place. I'm looking at renting a room in a shared house. I don't have enough saved up to get my own apartment yet. My chest tightens with a mix of pity and anger. You made a good amount from that account, though, didn't you? She flinches. It's complicated. The money's mostly gone to paying off some debts. And Tony took his share. I bark a laugh. Of course he did. She tries to defend him. He helped produce, he had connections. Spare me, I growl, cutting her off. My voice cracks, but I force it steady. You both took something precious from me. I don't want to hear about how it was business. She lowers her gaze. I understand. We fall silent again, a thick tension between us. Then I say, I need you to pack your things. Whatever you left behind here, gather it and go. Today. I can't have reminders of you in every corner. She nods, tears brimming. All right. We walk upstairs together, though I keep a distance. She enters the bedroom, our bedroom, and begins collecting clothes, accessories, all the items that used to define her presence in our shared life. I watch from the doorway, arms folded. My chest feels tight, my breath shallow. She's quiet, methodical. Occasionally, she glances at me, but I don't soften my expression. At one point, she reaches for an old photo of us hugging at a park in Seattle. Should I take this? She asks, her voice trembling. Do what you want, I reply, my tone icy. I see her slip it into a box, tears falling silently. When she's done, she stands with a suitcase in one hand, a cardboard box in the other. I guess this is it, she whispers. I just give a curt nod. I'll walk you out. Downstairs, the living room is dim, the overhead light is flickering again. We reach the door, and she sets the box down to open it. She glances back at me, eyes filled with regret. My heart is pounding so loudly it's a wonder she can't hear it. Michael, she says, voice trembling, I never wanted this to end like. Stop, I cut in, softly but firmly. No more. I can't listen to you rewrite reality. This is how it ends, Sarah. She looks like she might say something else, but then her gaze drops. She picks up her box and steps outside. The door closes with a soft click. And I stand there, feeling both victorious and utterly hollow. The next day, I'm antsy. I keep replaying everything in my head, my final words to her, the quiet acceptance in her eyes. I tell myself I did the right thing, that I needed to push her away. But the little voice inside me asks, could you have salvaged it? Did you want to? I hate that voice. I hate that I'm not entirely sure of my own answer. I throw myself into working out, going for a run along the rainy Seattle streets. My lungs burn with each breath, but I keep pushing, as if punishing my body might ease the internal agony. The memory of Tony's arrogant grin flashes through my mind, and I pick up the pace until my muscles scream. A few passers-by glance at me with concern, probably because my face looks twisted in anger and heartbreak. Eventually, I slow to a walk, panting, trying to calm the storm inside. I look out at the water near the pier. The gray sky merges with the gray ocean, as if the world is enveloped in sadness. My phone buzzes. I glance at it, expecting maybe a message from Sarah. Instead, it's a text from Tony. My blood runs cold. It reads, I see you're working off some steam. Want to talk like men? I'll be at the bar near 5th and Pine tonight. I stand there, phone in hand, heart pounding. The audacity of this guy to text me like we're old pals. Every fiber in me screams to ignore him. But another part, the part that craves some sort of revenge or closure, stirs. That night, I find myself walking into the bar at 5th and Pine, a dimly lit dive that smells of stale beer and regret. Tony sits at a corner booth, sipping a whiskey, a half-empty glass in front of him. He raises his eyebrows when he sees me but doesn't stand. I slide into the opposite seat, ignoring the protest in my mind that tells me to walk away. For a while, we just stare at each other. Then Tony lifts his glass. "To broken illusions," he says sarcastically. I say nothing, my glare steady. Eventually, he sets his glass down, swirling the liquid. "Sarah told me you confronted her. Good for you, man." I bristle. "Don't talk about her." He smirks. "Sure. Let's talk about you, then. You think I'm the villain, right?" I clench my fists under the table. "Is there a universe in which you're not?" He huffs a laugh. "Look, I'm no saint. But you can't pin all of this on me. Sarah made her choices. She reached out to me, by the way. Not the other way around. She wanted out of your tidy little marriage. She felt stifled." I bite my tongue, a trembling fury building. "Then why are you here? Gloating?" He shakes his head. "No, not gloating. I guess. I was curious. Wanted to see what kind of man you are. You see, in my line of work, people come and go, chasing excitement. It's all a performance. But real life is different. Real heartbreak." He points at my chest. "That heartbreak. It's raw. It's real." My voice is thick with bitterness. "You know nothing about me." "I know enough," he says quietly. "I know you were a decent husband. Steady job, loyal, considerate. But Sarah craved more. More attention, more thrill." He shrugs. "I provided it. That's all." My jaw tightens. "You could have stepped away." He laughs, short and humorless. "Sure. But then I'd miss out on what she was offering, right? And I'm not one to say no to a good time. Maybe that makes me scum, but I'm honest about it." His words are like a punch to my gut. I feel the old urge to smash my fist into his face, but something about his tone stops me. There's a strange emptiness in his eyes, as if he's used to this pattern, meeting the husbands or boyfriends of the women he's bedded, dealing with the fallout. The thought makes me sick. "Go to hell," I mutter, standing up. He grabs my wrist, not hard, but firmly enough to hold me there. "Listen, Michael. She might not be done with this. She loves that rush, that spotlight. You might hope she's changed, but from what I've seen, that craving doesn't vanish overnight." I yank my arm away. "Stay out of my life." He shrugs, leaning back in the booth. "Fair enough. But remember, you can't blame me for everything. It was her choice. And maybe yours too, for letting her slip away." My breathing quickens, voice trembling with anger as I speak. I never let her slip away. She betrayed me. That's all there is to it. He just nods, finishing his drink. "Sure." I walk out of the bar, each step feeling heavier than the last. Outside, the streetlights cast a sickly glow. The pavement gleams with recent rain. I pause under one of those lights, letting the drizzle soak my hair. My heart thumps, and I realize how close I came to throwing a punch, how close I still am. But I hold back. Something about Tony's hollow gaze unsettles me, like he's a cautionary tale of a man who's drifted too far from any moral anchor. By the time I get home, it's late. I collapse onto the couch, the overhead lamp flickering again. I let out a ragged sigh. Tony's words echo in my mind, she might not be done with this. Part of me knows he could be right. She might keep chasing that thrill, with or without him. It's her life now, no longer mine. At some point in the middle of the night, my phone buzzes. Another unknown number. I stare at it, that old dread creeping in. Then I turn it off, toss it onto the coffee table, and bury my face in my hands. This is my new normal: uncertainty, suspicion, the knowledge that the woman I once loved with every fiber of my being isn't who I thought she was. Weeks slide by. I file for divorce. My lawyer is efficient, sympathetic. I barely listen as she outlines the process. I just sign where needed. Sarah doesn't contest. She even waives certain claims, possibly out of guilt. We barely exchange words throughout it, mostly letting our lawyers handle the details. On the day the papers are finalized, I walk out of the courthouse feeling numb. I get in my car and just sit there, staring at the steering wheel. 10 years of marriage, gone. My phone rings, my boss, wanting to know if I'm ready to come back to work. I swallow hard, forcing composure. "I'll be in tomorrow," I say. My voice doesn't shake. He thanks me and hangs up. I'm about to turn the ignition when I see Sarah step out of the courthouse, her gaze wandering until it lands on me. We lock eyes through the windshield. She lifts her hand slightly, a feeble wave, then she turns and walks away. I watch her figure recede into the distance, a strange ache in my chest. That night, back at home, I look around at the half-empty closets, the bare spaces where her books and photos used to be. I feel an urge to rid myself of every trace of her, but I recall the words I spoke to her: "You're free. But not from yourself." Perhaps I need to heed that sentiment too. I'm free from the marriage, but not from the pain. The images, the betrayal, they're etched into me. I stand in the doorway of the bedroom, scanning the shadows. The bed is made, but I can't bring myself to sleep there. I remember how we used to lie close, how her hair smelled of coconut shampoo. I remember nights of laughter and mornings of lazy tenderness. Were all those moments a lie? Or did they just wither somewhere along the road? I leave the bedroom, shutting the door behind me. I grab an old blanket from the linen closet and stretch out on the living room couch. My father's watch, passed down to me years ago, sits on the coffee table, its rhythmic ticking a lonely companion. It's late, and the wind outside rattles the windows. I close my eyes, exhaling slowly. Days turn into weeks, then months. I focus on work, burying myself in projects and deadlines. I take up running more seriously. I see my breathing coach once a week. Slowly, the intensity of the rage and hurt dulls to an ache, like an old injury that flares up in bad weather. People at the office notice I'm quieter, less prone to jokes or casual banter. But they also see me throwing myself into campaigns with renewed vigor, as if I'm trying to prove something to myself. Or maybe I'm just trying to forget. Every so often, I catch a glimpse of Sarah on social media, someone tags her, or a recommended post appears. She's changed her hair color to a lighter blonde and posts new designs she's created for clients. No mention of her other work. She looks fine. Possibly even happy. I wonder if she's still seeing Tony or if they parted ways. I wonder if she regrets anything. But I don't contact her. The wound is still too tender, and maybe always will be. I also see glimpses of Tony's life, a cameo in some small-time web series, pictures of him at a party with a new woman on his arm. He looks like he's moved on to the next thrill. Perhaps Sarah was just another storyline in his ongoing production. The anger resurfaces briefly, but then fades. He's a symptom, not the disease. One evening, as I'm sitting alone in the living room, I recall that final moment with Sarah, the day I showed her the videos, the screenshots, the likes. She tried to speak, but I silenced her. I played them one after another until there was no denying the truth. The look on her face, shock, fear, a hint of twisted pride, told me more than words could. That memory stings, but it also reminds me why I had to let go. My father's watch ticks softly on my wrist. I check the time, it's late. Yet the house feels unnervingly quiet, like it's holding its breath, waiting for a confrontation that will never happen. I think about that line I told her, "You're free. But not from yourself." The same applies to me. I'm free of the marriage, the lies, but not from the scars. Not from the lingering question of how it all went so wrong. I get up, turn off the lights, and step into the backyard. Seattle's night sky is heavy with clouds, but a sliver of moonlight peeks through. I breathe in the damp air, remembering the lessons from the breathing coach. Inhale 4, hold 2, exhale 4. Slowly, methodically. It grounds me, at least for the moment. In the darkness, I speak softly to no one. I never wanted this. But here we are. A part of me feels lighter just saying it out loud. Another part wonders if there's any part of Sarah's soul that aches like mine. I recall something my mother once told me: sometimes the strongest love is the one you show yourself after someone breaks you. At the time, I didn't really understand. Now, maybe I do. The final confrontation happens unexpectedly, months after the divorce is settled. I'm leaving a grocery store, carrying a couple of paper bags, when I see Sarah in the parking lot. She's alone, rummaging in her purse for keys. We make eye contact, and there's a flicker of something: sadness, recognition, perhaps an echo of the old bond we once shared. I consider just walking away, but she raises her hand in a small wave, so I approach. "Hey," I say, voice stiff. She nods. "Hey." She looks at the grocery bags in my arms. "How are you?" I take a moment, letting the damp Seattle air cling to my skin. "I'm managing," I reply. She tries a half smile. "You look good, Michael. Healthier." I shift my weight. I run a lot these days. It helps clear my head. She hesitates. "I'm glad." "Really?" I watch her carefully, searching her face for regret or longing. Maybe I see a flicker of both. "How about you?" I ask, my tone polite but distant. She shrugs. "I'm figuring things out. Got a steady freelance gig. Moved into a small studio apartment. It's not much, but it's mine. Or at least, I can afford the rent by myself." "Good," I say quietly. A breeze rustles between us. I can't help but ask, "And Tony?" Her lips tighten. "We're not together, if that's what you mean. It was a mistake. One I'll have to live with." I nod. The grocery bag is getting heavy in my arms, but I don't shift it. I let the discomfort remind me of the moment. She looks at me as if expecting something, absolution, maybe. But I have none to give. We stand there for a moment, silent under the parking lot's neon lights. Then she says, "I know I can't fix what I broke. But, for what it's worth, I regret hurting you." I force a thin smile, the closest thing I have to warmth. "Thanks." She lingers, perhaps on the verge of saying more. Then her gaze drops. "All right. I'll let you go. Take care, Michael." "You too, Sarah," I reply. She turns away, keys jingling in her hand, and I head to my car. I don't look back. When I get home, I feel an odd sense of finality. Like that brief exchange was the closure we never fully had before. The ache is still there, but maybe it's dulled a bit. I unpack my groceries, noticing how quiet the house is, and yet I don't feel quite as alone. Maybe I'm getting used to the solitude. Maybe solitude is my new normal, and I'm finding a strange comfort in it. Months later, on a drizzly Saturday, I sit on my front porch, sipping coffee. I watch the rain gather on the edge of the roof before dripping steadily onto the lawn. My phone rests on the small table beside me, no longer a device of torment, just a way to keep in touch with the few people who matter. I still have my job, my house, my routines. But I'm different now, hollowed out in some ways, tempered like steel in others. I remember the day Sarah left for that party in her new dress, how I said, "Don't do it," not really knowing what I was warning her about. I remember the vicious sting of seeing her online content. I remember the suffocating rage, the cold confrontation, the door closing behind her for the last time. I remember smashing my phone, trying to destroy the evidence of betrayal, or maybe just trying to kill the pain. None of it worked the way I wanted, but maybe it led me here, to a place of reluctant acceptance. The real heartbreak is that I can't change the past. The real mercy is that I don't have to remain trapped by it. The future stretches out, uncertain but mine to shape. Inside, a single suitcase remains in a closet, my last vestige of Sarah's presence. She left it behind by accident, or maybe she forgot. It holds a few old clothes, some mementos from our early years. I pull it out, set it by the door, intending to drop it off at a donation center. As I rummage through it, I find a small notebook of hers. Flipping through, I see sketches, design ideas, half-finished notes. On the last page is a scrawled line, "I want to be free, but I don't know how." I stare at it, that quiet confession, feeling a pang of empathy. Then I tuck the notebook back in and zip the suitcase. I'm done living in her headspace. She's free, just as I told her. And I'm free too, except from the memories. Those might linger, but they no longer define me. Stepping out into the drizzle, suitcase in hand, I breathe in the cool air. The rain hits my skin, and I let it wash over me. Once, I believed Sarah was my home, the anchor I'd cling to forever. Now I know she was more like a set piece, a temporary shelter that collapsed at the first sign of a storm. On that far shore we once imagined, there was never a real home, just decorations and lies. Still, I keep walking, keep breathing, each step a small release. The suitcase's handle presses against my palm, reminding me of weight I no longer want to carry. By the time I reach my car, I feel lighter somehow. I open the trunk, place the suitcase inside, and close it with a firm push. I look up at the sky, gray clouds swirling overhead. My father's watch ticks on my wrist, a steady reminder that time marches on. And so will I. In the silence of this moment, I whisper words meant only for myself, I survived. Then I slide into the driver's seat, start the engine, and drive off, leaving the ghosts of that life behind. Because sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away from the ruins, knowing you owe nothing more to the ashes. It's over. And that, in its own devastating way, is a kind of peace.